r/AmIThe asshole. AITA for making an obese man pay me cash to take up part of my seat on a long flight. Judgment: asshole. So this month I was flying across the country on the long 5-hour flight, which I had booked and seats selected for. I specifically chose an aisle seat in a row of 2, so no middle seat, just the aisle and window. Well, a very obese man boards, and I can tell instantly he is going to have a tough time fitting in any of the seats. I assume maybe he bought 2, hence why he's even attempting to board. I'm mentally crossing my fingers he's not next to me, but sure enough, he ends up pointing to the window seat next to me to let him in. I get up and let him in politely, wanting to at least give him a chance. Well, he sits down and is easily seeping into about a third of my seat. I sit down and am pressed up against him, making me uncomfortable. After a minute, I decided to be upfront and tell him, "Sir, I'm sorry, but this situation is not working for me. You're taking up quite a bit of my seat." He wasn't rude, but sort of gave me a shrug as if there's nothing he can do, although he did sort of tighten his arms in to try and be narrower. It just wasn't enough though. He was still overhanging over the armrest about a quarter into my seat, even when squeezing his arms in. I'm talking about fully hanging over the armrest into my seat. I end up stopping a flight attendant and ask her what can be done about the situation. She instantly tells him that he is likely going to need to purchase another seat. She goes to the front and comes back saying that there aren't any open seats on this flight, so there wasn't a way to move people so he could have 2. This causes a very awkward silence. The guy seemed embarrassed and didn't want to get up. He mentioned how he can't wait for a later flight. I felt bad for him, but I was also thinking about my own comfort on the long flight, the comfort I paid for. The flight attendant tells him that unless someone on the flight agrees to let him take up part of their seat, he'll need to book another flight. The guy seems really flustered by this ultimatum, and here's where I made my offer. I'll tell the guy, "Look, I'll put up with this if you give me $150. That's half the cost of this flight, and that would compensate me enough for the circumstances." He instantly agrees, pulls out cash, and pays me. He even told me he appreciated it. Well, the people sitting behind me, who keep in mind didn't volunteer to sit by him, were making under their breath comments about me being an asshole for doing that. I just ignored them and put the cash in my wallet. From my perspective, I gave the guy a valid option to stay on the flight, and I was compensated for literally having only 75% of my seat max, let alone the feeling of a person's body pressed against you involuntarily. A win-win. He wasn't angry at all. If anything, he seemed quite relieved we could work it out privately. After the flight, the couple behind me glared at me, but I ignored them. This leads me to beg the question. Am I the asshole?